Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. We were looking at lists in Python, and in this video we are going to see what do we understand by aliasing and cloning in list. So let us see them one by one. So talking about aliasing, well, since in Python variables are referred to as object, right? So here if I have created a list named A that have elements 1, 2, 3, then A is an object of type list, right? So list is a class and A is an object of that particular class. That means A have all the properties that are possessed by any list, right? So now if we assign one variable to another, as you can see that I have assigned A to B, right? With an assignment operator that is equal to, right? That is equal to sign. Both variables will now going to refer to the same object. Now that is how we can say that Python is memory efficient. We can understand this with the help of a small animation which says that yes, I have a list which is an object and the value or the attribute of that object's, the one of the attribute is the value. So the value will be 1, 2 and 3, right? So this is an object and I am referring this object by the variable name A, right? But now what I have did, I have assigned A to B. Now there will not be another object of having the same value 1, 2, 3 will be created, but the variable B will going to refer to the same object, right? So before creating any new object, what Python actually do, it intelligently looks about all its present objects and check that whether there is an object already present with it or not, right? So if that object is already been presented with it, then at that point of time the newly created variables will point to the same object, right? So that is how we can say that it's memory efficient. But this particular way of assignment have a drawback associated with it. And what's that drawback is? See, now A was my original object, right? 1, 2, 3, right? And now I have just, transferred the value, or you can say assigned the same variable B to the same object, that is 1, 2, 3. We have seen in the previous diagram also. Now the issue with it is, even if I change the value of any element present in B, the changes will be reflected in the A list also. Now that is the thing which is a issue in aliasing. So even if I have two different variables, if I alter one, then the changes will be reflected in both the list or in both the objects. So that is a issue, because what if I do not want to alter my original data, right? I stored it into a temporary variable and I'm just performing my calculation on that, keeping my original data retained. Now that is the problem. So first of all, now let us open our Python screen and visualize the process of aliasing, and make sure that what we have studied till now in aliasing is correct, and this is the drawback. So let us go to the Python screen and visualize that yes, that this drawback actually exists. So here I am on my Python screen, and here I will be just creating a list which having elements like 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? What I'm going to do is I will be creating a variable that is new list, right? In the slide I have taken A, B and C, right? So I have just assigned my original list to a new variable that is new list, right? And what I'm going to do over here is, first of all, I will be printing both the values of my list so that we can see that yes, that this aliasing is working and both the list have the same values, right? So first of all, let us just simply print the two lists. On running, you can see that yes, all the two lists have 1, 2, 3, 4 as their elements. So yes, that assignment operator was working very fine. Now let us do one thing. We will be just changing the value in the new list, that is, let's say the first element of the list be equal to this, right? So I've just changed the first value, right? And now what I'm going to do is I will be running this particular code again, and here you can visualize that the first element of both my list, that is the list and the new list, has been now modified, right? But the thing is that what I did is only modified the value in the new list, but the change was also reflected in list. Now, why does this happen? This happens because of the memory references. That new list also points to the same object to which your list is pointing. To verify this, that they both point to the same address location, what we can do, we can actually print the id of both the objects, right? So let us print the id of list, and let us also print the id of new list. So why this drawback is actually occurring is because of they both have the same ids, right? Because they are referring to the same object. So if you make change in any one of it, the change will be reflected in each and every object, that is each and every variable actually that is pointing to that object, right? So the changing, the object is one, right? But the references is many, right? So that is one to many relationship. So that is the problem with aliasing, because I want to retain my original data and perform my, calculations or my work on the temporary data, right? So that is where the drawback of aliasing occurs. And in order to overcome it, we came through with a new concept that is known as cloning, right? So let us go back to our slides and first understand that what do we really understand by cloning, and then we will be coming again to Python, and then we will be programming about how we can make the clones of our lists, right? So in order to overcome the drawback that we faced in aliasing, we came up with a new topic, that is cloning. So if we want to modify a list and also keep a copy of the original data or the original list, we need to be able to make a copy of the list itself. That means we need to create two different objects, not just the references, right? So aliasing create references, but in cloning we create new objects. Now this process is known as copying your list, or sometimes it is also known as cloning. Now in order to make a clone of a list, we can have a different options, through which we can make clones. So here I have listed around five top methods with which we can create a clone of a list. Let us have a look on them one by one, and then we will be also comparing the IDs of the objects that we created through cloning. So the first technique is the slicing technique, and which is as follows. Here I have my original list, and I have just created a new list named C, and I have just passed the the value of my list through slicing. And if I skip the start and the stop parameter of the slicing syntax, then it will be considering the complete list. And then we have actually just verified the ID and the value of both the list, right? So let us go back to the Python screen and see how through slicing we can create clones. Modify this code like this. So here I will be using the concept of slicing, and through slicing I am doing the the cloning of my list. Now let us see what happens. So if I run this code right now, you can see that the value of the IDs is different right now. So using the clone value, right, you can see that the two different IDs are now being created. And we can also verify this concept by actually printing the list. So I will be printing my list LST, that is my first list, and then I will be printing my new list to verify that yes, through slicing a new object is created and not just the reference. So just look at the thing right now. So here it is my original list, and it is the new list with the changed value, and this is because the IDs are different. That is, we have modifying the two different objects, not just the references, right? So that was the difference between aliasing and cloning. I think now that thing will be pretty much clear. Now coming back to our slides, let us look on the different methods with which we can create the clones. Slicing was the first method. The next method of preparing a clone is using the list method. So you can also create a clone by using the list method, that is you are using the list constructor and you're just passing a list to it and then assigning it to a different variable. So through this function we can also create clone. So let us see the same thing with the help of list method. So what I will be going to do over here, I will be just commenting this way of cloning my list, and I will be just creating the same variable, right? New lst, but this time I will be creating a clone by list constructor, right? And now if I will be running this particular code, you can see the same output, right? The original list, that is this one, the cloned list, that is this one, and just we have changed the value, so the value is not reflected in any one of the list, only in the new list, and the id is also different. So that is how we have actually created a clone, right? So list method is also one of the way. Coming to the third way of creating a clone, the third way is the extend method. We know that you can use extend method to club two lists together. So here we have taken an empty list with the name L2 and we have just extended it with L1, right? So that is the another method. So let us go back to the Python screen and see how this extend method will be giving us the same output as before. Now again, let me just comment this one. That was what we used here is list constructor. The next thing will be creating a new variable with an empty list, and here the new list will be extended with the original list. Now let us run this particular code and you can see that we will be getting the same output as before. The IDs are different, the original list is retained and the new list is having the changed value, right? Coming to the fourth method, which is through copy method, and it is the most popular method of creating copy because it's using the same method with the same name, that is the copy method. So here just we have created a copy of the original list and then we have just saved it into a reference variable B and the output will be same as before. So now let us use this copy method. It's an inbuilt method, and how we can create a clone with copy method we will be looking at now, right? So the thing it is very easy to remember: cloning, C for cloning and C for copy. So you can retain in your mind the copy method like this. Now let me just comment these two lines also, because with this we have used the extend method. This is the third method, right? Then the fourth method will be what we are going to do in the new list. We will be just copying the value of my original list and like this, right? And all the rest of the code will be as it is. So now if I run, you can see that I have got the same answer. Original list is retained, the new list has been now modified because they both have two different IDs. Now we are left with only last method of creating clone, which is somewhat an advanced method because in this we will be using list comprehension. So let us go back to our Python slides. The last method is on your screen, which is list comprehension. Here we have created a new list, that is L2, through list comprehensions. You can see that the content, that is I, is written with an expression of for loop for I in the list 1. Right? So we have in the previous videos have seen how we can make complex list with comprehension. So this is another example of copying the two lists through comprehension, and here we will be creating two different objects through comprehensions. Let us just go back to the Python screen and see how this works. Now again, here I will be commenting this, and here we used copy method. That was the fourth method. And for the fifth one, I will be again creating a new list. And through comprehension, we start with an empty list. Then we are going to write our content. What I want elements in my list, so representing it with I. Now from where this I is coming? I is coming from I in LST, right? So each and every value from I will be copied to the new list, right? Running the same code, and you can see, compare the two objects, compare the two outputs. The outputs is exactly the same, but session wise the IDs are now different, but you can see that the original list have different ID and the newly created list have different ID. So that was a small video on how we can work on aliasing and cloning and understanding the subtle difference between the two. I hope that this video was informative to you, and thanks for watching.